Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of John Skelton? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. A few recent videos I uploaded on Patreon would be the Schoharie limousine disaster of 2018, the Gene Spangler case, which is a lot like the Black Dahlia case, and the case of Molly Watson, a woman who was killed right before her wedding. In the case of John Skelton, I'll first look at the background, I'll move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. John Skelton and Tanya Zuvers married in 2002 and lived in Morenci, Michigan. The couple had 3 sons, Andrew, Alexander, and Tanner. John was an over-the-road truck driver. Tanya stayed at home and cared for the children. She had a criminal record. In 1998, Tanya was convicted of criminal sexual conduct 4th degree in connection with her behavior with a 14-year-old male neighbor. This crime is a misdemeanor. In 2009, John lost his job as a truck driver after being convicted of driving under the influence. His consumption of alcohol increased, and he spent a lot of time around the house. On September 13, 2010, Tanya filed for a divorce. On this same day, John allegedly signed Andrew and Alexander out of school and left for Jacksonville, Florida. John's parents live in Florida. Later, after being pressured by the police, he returned the boys to their mother. Tanya was awarded full custody of her sons, but still permitted John visitation. John asked Tanya if he could keep the boys over Thanksgiving. She agreed and dropped them off at John's house on November 24, 2010. At this point, Andrew was 9 years old, Alexander 7, and Tanner 5. The plan was for the boys to be transferred back to their mother on Friday at 3 p.m. Tanya ended up calling John on Friday, wanting her sons back early. He said that they were in Jackson, Michigan, and he was not sure when they would return. She kept pressing him for information. Eventually, he told her that he was at his house and the boys were with a friend named Joanne Taylor. He didn't know when they were coming back. John told Tanya that he had tried to bring an end to his own life by hanging and was in the hospital because he injured his leg during this attempt. Tanya called the police. Here's what they uncovered during their investigation. John said that the boys were fine, but he didn't know where they were. He had arranged for a woman named Joanne Taylor to pick them up. He met Joanne Taylor one day when he was driving a truck. He saw her on the side of the road with her broken-down vehicle. He stopped to help her. They stayed in touch after this encounter. John's reason for giving the boys to Joanne was that he did not want them to witness what he was going to do to himself. The police were unable to find any record that John had ever communicated with anyone named Joanne Taylor. They didn't believe that she existed. The police entered John's house and did not find anybody there. They noticed that the inside of the house was in terrible condition. Dishes were broken, furniture was knocked over. They said the house was destroyed. The authorities were able to track the movements of John's cell phone. They found that on November 26 at 4:29 a.m., John's cell phone left his house and traveled to Holiday City, Ohio. This is about 30 minutes away. At 5:02 a.m., it appears as though the phone was turned off. The police believe that the phone was traveling with somebody along main roads. They, of course, believed John was the one traveling. John was a truck driver, and one of his regular routes took him to the Holiday City, Ohio area, so he was familiar with the area. The area was also important for other reasons. John and his wife would visit there on occasion. At some point, John's phone must have been reactivated. At 6:46 a.m., it was located back in Morenci, Michigan. Holiday City, Ohio, is a rural area. There is not much there in terms of structures. The police were hopeful they would find the Skelton brothers or their remains at that location. They searched thoroughly, but found nothing. After John's cell phone arrived back at his house in Morenci, Michigan, he sent a few text messages and emails. He also brought some of his belongings to a family member's house, which was nearby. He told them that he did not expect to be around too long. He specified a relative who was to receive his belongings. John tried to explain the movements of his phone in this way. He said that his phone traveled to Holiday City, but it did so without him. The phone inexplicably reappeared at his house after making the trip. He doesn't know what happened. So I guess he would have us believe that the phone grabbed the keys to his minivan and drove to Holiday City for a little getaway. The phone may have thought that the name of the city meant it would be a good place for a vacation, but it was disappointed after arriving and decided to return to John's house. I guess the takeaway is don't let your phone choose your vacation destinations. John was arrested and charged with 3 counts of kidnapping, 3 counts of parental kidnapping, and 3 counts of unlawful imprisonment. On December 16, John admitted that there was no Joanne Taylor. He made up that story. I'm sure the police were shocked at that revelation. Now John was saying that his sons were in the custody of a clandestine group who kept them safe. The name of the group was the United Foster Outreach and Underground Sanctuaries, which demonstrates that John didn't even bother trying to make up a convincing name. This group had picked up his sons from his house on Thanksgiving. The boys were taken to an Amish farm in Ohio. John said there they would enjoy a better life. They would have a new family, farm boots, and ride a tractor. John wrapped them in a blanket and gave them a stuffed animal before they left. John said he gave the boys to the underground group because he was trying to keep them safe from their mother. He claimed that Tanya was mistreating them in a way consistent with her criminal conviction. Tanya denied this allegation, suggesting that she made a mistake in the past, but had done nothing wrong in this case. On July 28, 2011, as part of a plea deal, John was convicted of 3 counts of unlawful imprisonment after pleading no contest. The other charges were dismissed. In September, he was sentenced to 10 to 15 years in prison, which was in excess of the sentencing guidelines. At the latest, John will be released in 2025. He was denied parole in 2020 and didn't bother showing up to his next parole hearing. I guess he had more important things to do. His prison social calendar must be demanding. In prison, John once again changed his story. Now he said that he never actually gave the boys to an underground group. Rather, a member of the group visited his house as part of an intervention to keep the boys safe from their mother. At the time making this video, the boys have not been found, and the police are treating this as a homicide investigation. Now moving to my analysis. John Skelton was convicted of felonies in connection with the disappearance of his boys, but he was never charged with murder. Despite this, many people believe John did murder his sons. Let's take a look at the evidence both for and against the idea that John committed murder, starting with the inculpatory evidence. John was with his sons at the time they went missing. His phone made a mysterious journey to Holiday City, Ohio, in the early morning hours of November 26. This is a remote area with which John was familiar. John's blue 2000 Dodge Caravan was spotted on the highway between Morenci, Michigan, and Holiday City, Ohio, between 4 and 7 a.m. that morning. A week before the disappearance, John searched the internet for how to break a neck and if rat poison could kill humans. John sustained some type of injury to his leg. He claims it's because he was trying to end his life and fell several feet. The injury could have also come from committing homicides or disposing of bodies. John's house was torn up, like some type of struggle occurred there. John lost his job in 2009, consumed a lot of alcohol, and was getting a divorce, so there were a lot of stressors in his life. The police could find no evidence that any of John's stories were true. There is no Joanne Taylor. There is no secret group. He did not have contact with anybody like that. His stories are simply unbelievable. He would have people believe that there is some type of clandestine organization out there that hides children from bad mothers. This group has the resources to care for the children indefinitely while keeping them hidden from the world. His story about the Amish farm is particularly difficult to believe. When parents are trying to explain the death of a pet to a child, for example, if a family dog dies, they might say something like, "The dog went to live on a farm." This statement is a very common euphemism for death. In addition, Amish people would not be okay with taking care of 3 mysterious boys. Everybody knows everyone else in those communities. The word would get out. I think John's story may have been influenced by the 1985 movie Witness with Harrison Ford. Moving to the exculpatory evidence, no physical evidence like blood or DNA was ever recovered. No murder weapon was found. There are no witnesses or video to any type of homicides. The bodies of the boys were never recovered. Technically, they could still be alive. When considering all the evidence, do I think that John was guilty? Yes, I think he was guilty in reality, but without the bodies being recovered, reasonable doubt still exists. I don't think there is a lot of doubt, but something else needs to be discovered before murder charges could be supported. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. I think that John was spiraling downward in his life. He had sustained a number of losses. He lost his job, he lost his wife, and now he was facing losing his children. He came up with the plan of taking his children to Florida, but that didn't work out. Unable to accept the reality of his situation, he decided to kill his sons. I think it was to get revenge on his wife. It was one way that he could hurt her greatly. He may have convinced himself that he was doing them a favor. He was sparing them the horror of growing up with their mother, a woman who, from John's perspective, had caused him so much pain. John commits the crime in a manner that does not leave a lot of physical evidence, perhaps suffocation, strangulation, poisoning, or breaking the neck. He drives to a remote area of Ohio that has sentimental value to him and disposes of the bodies. It may have been that he did this before reaching Holiday City, Ohio, or after leaving the city. This may be why the searches didn't turn up anything. John thought for sure that he would get caught, but somehow he was not. The story about giving the children away leads to his convictions for other charges, but he escapes any responsibility for murder. Many people are surprised that John wasn't charged with murder. People have certainly been convicted with less evidence. I think what happened here is that the state had John on the felonies, and they were able to get the long prison sentence. It makes sense that the state would want to wait and see if the bodies were found, rather than prosecuting the case and risking a not guilty verdict. After all, John is in prison, so the state feels like they are safe to wait and see what happens. Jeopardy would attach if John was found not guilty, and he could never be charged again. I would not be surprised if murder charges came along in the future. I'm curious as to what would have happened in this case if John had simply said nothing, like if the police questioned him at the hospital and he invoked his right to remain silent. Would he have been charged with kidnapping or murder? I think it's likely he would have been. Moving to my final thoughts, marriage and family are connected to a sense of identity and purpose. Losing one's spouse and children can destroy one's identity and remove the sense of purpose, which can lead to extreme behavior. When families are breaking apart, it is a dangerous time. Sometimes people are barely holding it together as it is, and this type of loss simply cannot be tolerated. If the person on the losing side of the situation does not see a way to mitigate the loss, they may develop a plan to ensure that everybody gets to experience their pain. Those are my thoughts in the case of John Skelton. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis on this topic to be as intriguing as a cell phone that needs a vacation. Thanks for watching.